It's the Dev Friday Show with Mark and Tim.
All right. Well, I listened briefly to last week's show, and I think I sound the same today. It did not sound great last week. I don't know that it sounds great today, getting over a cold or whatever's going on. But you know what? This is episode 30, Mark. Did you know that?
30 episodes.
This is episode 30.
Wow.
And there's just 10 more episodes till our 40th episode. And I think I said if we got to our 40th episode, I would mention it, right?
All right. Yep.
Isn't that what I said? Was that what it was?
I know you're waiting for the Friday to tell me that either it's your birthday or your birthday was this week.
Oh, is that what we're waiting for? Well, it is my 40th birthday today.
Is it?
It is, yes.
Well, happy birthday, Tim.
And I bet you if we hadn't have taken so many breaks, because we did it may have been, I didn't do the math because I'm way too lazy to figure that stuff out.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there were a couple of shows that we didn't do it. If we would have done those, I wonder if it would have been our 40th episode here on my 40th birthday. I don't know.
That would have been epic. But
that would have been amazing.
But apparently we failed at that because
no, I did not even consider that. No.
We got a little lazy there, but
yeah. Well, we skipped 2. Just the last couple of weeks, and then before that there was 1 or 2. So I don't know if it would have been up to. I don't know if we skipped 10 so far.
But it's I'm happy to hear that you have taken that. You've leveled up in your life.
Leveled up, yeah.
You've hit the big 40. How does it feel, Tim?
It feels not much different than what it felt like yesterday. I guess. I don't know. Is it supposed to feel significant, Mark? Is that what it's supposed to do?
Well, no, 40 wasn't bad. I think that.
Oh, okay.
After 42, I think, or maybe it's because I've been trying to exercise a bit more. My body's been a little more sore. I feel like after 42, 43, I'm going on to 40. I know I am 44 now.
Yeah, since the birthday you didn't tell me about. That was yeah. I remember that. I remember that day.
I am starting to feel more sore as I get into the mid 40s.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess that's something I have to look forward to. It's one of those things where I don't put my birthday on social media, so or like whatever thing you have to click to, so Facebook tells you that it's not, it doesn't tell people that it's my birthday. So I don't have a bunch of things, except at my company they announce people's birthdays. So the general channel in Slack is just everybody wishing me.
Oh, that's nice. So. That's very sweet.
So.
No, I'm the same way. I'm not a big birthday self because, like I said, after I hit a certain age, I think after 21,
was that it? After 21, you're like, I don't care anymore.
After 21, I'm like, I don't care about birthdays anymore. I kind of hit that big milestone of becoming a full adult.
Okay, is that what? I guess that is what 21 is.
Then 30 was okay. 30 was kind of interesting, and then 40, I was like, 40, I'm just getting old now. So.
And then my 3-year-old came up and she said, "Give me your wrist." Aww. And she said, I want to do something to it. And she stretched a like one of those rubber band bracelet things. So that's, for those who are watching, that's why I have a rubber band bracelet thing on my hand. That was apparently a birthday present.
And
from my 3-year-old.
What could be, that's an example of, for you as a maker, the best birthday gift somebody can give you, Tim, is something that they've made, right?
Something that they've made, yeah. In fact, the older kids, I 3D printed one of those rainbow loom little ones, and they've been whipping out these ginormous rubber band things. They had an actual loom that they've had for years, but too many people wanted to use it to make these bracelet things. So there's a couple of ones you can print. So I printed a couple of those, and they've been. I don't know what is it. I don't know what it is. It's they're rubber bands, but is this crochet technically? I don't really know what it is.
I remember when I was a kid. I don't know how old I was, but it was back in the late 80s, early 90s. And because I know I'm a few years older than you, Tim.
Just a few, but that's okay.
But there was a fad. I don't know if it was localized to where it was or the East Coast, because everybody always had those, like these handmade bracelets, these colored bracelets, right? Do you ever see them made out of electrical wire, like colored electrical wire?
No, are you talking about, like, I remember the friendship, like braid bracelets?
Yeah, like a braid or like a wrap or something like that. most of the people,
Electrical wire?
yeah,
Like
most of the people in their right mind would use thread
Yeah,
or
that's
some
what
like
they
a
would
rubber
use.
material because it's soft and flexible.
Right.
But there was there was 1 year where everybody at my school was into making these like bracelets out of electrical wire, like
Like the
colored
stuff that
electrical
you
wire,
would use in your house,
like
or
insulated electrical wire.
yeah. Like okay, so a decent sized electrical wire, not
Because
like
the cool thing
little
about that is that
enamel.
yeah, well, that's like insulated, has some like a colored
Yeah,
rubber coating to
yeah.
it, but it was basically if you open it up, it's just a metal wire inside of it.
Right.
And so, and then what you do, you take like, 4 or 5 or 6 colors, how many different wires you want, and you braid them or wrap them around in different patterns, and then it became a thing. And I could kind of understand why, because it was very, as forming a bracelet out of this wire. Once you bend it in, it keeps its position. But then once you start wearing them, they're not very comfortable.
No, because they'd fit to your wrist and then
Yeah.
not give you any flexibility. Like, believe it or not, your body changes as you do things.
But I remember
that
with
would
my
not.
But I remember with my friends, we there was one time, I don't know where he went. It was some type of dump of some sort, or some type of car junkyard or something, where we were looking for big insulated cable that had like millions of these colored wires inside of it. And we're like, we found like these big, huge logs, these cables, we cut them up and then we'd make a thing. It was a very strange year back when I was a kid making these metal bracelets, but that's what made me think of
Yeah,
having
that does seem a
Yeah.
little odd.
I didn't know if you remember
No,
that was a thing. So
that never happened. I was never part of
I wonder if that was a
a
super localized thing from a school or my general area,
I
and then
feel like it may have been.
one kid started and became like a thing, and then we all were doing it, and we thought it was the coolest thing, even though it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't very comfortable. And then we eventually started figuring out, yeah, your hand could start getting cut up if like the ends of these wires start to rub against your skin. It wasn't very good, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
Time.
All right. Not the lesson to learn there is probably don't accept a friendship bracelet from Mark.
Probably not.
You don't know what it's going to be made up of.
So we do have. I don't know if you came prepared, Tim.
I have been so super focused on what my topic was going to be
we are,
this
like
week.
I said, we try to be
so super focused.
Like we talked about last week, we're trying to be a little bit more professional going forward. That each
So
of
much
us are
more.
going to bring a topics. Just do a tiny bit of research, maybe 5 minutes about the topic, something for us to talk about, just so we can be a little bit more organized. Joe. But before we do that, side, because we do a little this first 10 minutes or so when we do a little chit chat.
Okay.
Have you got into the private beta of the JetBrains Fleet IDE?
Oh, the Fleet? No, I mean I haven't even asked for access to that.
It popped up. I mean, because you know me in YouTube, I usually kind of I have YouTube open like every day and kind of what. And so some of the programmer YouTubers that I follow was I guess they got into this private beta of the Fleet IDE by JetBrains, which was just released by it's in like a closed beta right now. So you have to be invited into it. So I didn't know, since you are a longtime JetBrains user and supporter, if you got an invite to this, but it does look kind of interesting. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if you take a look at it. It's like
their lightweight IDE, right?
Yeah, so it's their like Visual Studio Code, right?
I don't use a lightweight IDE. I use a heavyweight IDE.
This is what I wanted to, because I wanted to get your opinion about this, because it looks kind of interesting. Because you know me, I like my IDEs light, right?
Right. This is more for you, I think.
Yeah. So I like Visual Studio Code, and I like Vim, Emacs. I like them where they're basically just text editors where you just see the text. I don't like a lot of user interface buttons and options. I like to keep everything with just within the shortcuts, the key mapping, and to keep everything within the kind of a simple editor. And so that's why I like Visual Studio Code. And it says with Visual Studio, the big Visual Studio, it's great. It's great IDE. But it is a beast, just like Android Studio or any of the other JetBrains projects. They are very large applications, and there's a lot going on, and it takes some time to get up to a good proficiency with it, where you feel comfortable and being productive with it. But you can't beat the debugging. I admit that. Where if you really want to debug or to test your code, or to try to fix your code and to help using the IDE to kind of help you find where their errors are happening, there's nothing better than IDE for that. With just a basic text editor, you're not going to get that functionality.
All the things that you do as a programmer all the time, you're saying it's probably better to use an IDE for that.
When I write code, there are no bugs, Tim.
just happy accidents. That's what it is. There's no
Yeah.
bugs. It's just happy accidents.
Well, the flow that I've got myself into is like I'll use a very lightweight editor to do most of the code editing, but then if I actually do want to do some debugging or testing, then I'll open up a larger IDE for that. So I kind of like that, even though you're switching context and you're going to a different application, but then I don't know, I kind of use the application for what's best for. But I do find this JetBrains IDE because I have been playing with a couple of the editors. I haven't really done anything productive with them, but I have played with I download because I have the educational version since I'm still a teacher. I can I can get the free software. So I downloaded Sea Lion, PHP Storm, GoLand, Rider, and WebStorm. Right. So I think those probably cover pretty much the different types of coding that I would need to do. So I've been kind of playing. It's kind of, and everyone knows this with the JetBrains IDs that they kind of share a similar interface. But that's also I was wondering about, like, it's the same interface, but they're configured differently based on the environment, based on the language, the framework that you're programming in. So I guess it's customized for that, but it is a separate application. That's why I kind of find this the Fleet kind of interesting because it is a multi-language, multi-platform style of editor, similar to Visual Studio Code. But then it basically just use one editor. But then I wonder if the parts that I said that I like to use an IDE for like the debugging, is it going to be bringing that into it? So it's something I want to keep a watch. I didn't know if you took a look at it or knew anybody who was kind of playing around with it, but
I haven't. The thing that, well, I know what about debugging with Visual Studio Code though? Because that, like you're saying, and everybody sees that's the play that JetBrains is making. They're making a play for some like that Visual Studio Code space, but I know that Visual Studio Code does debugging just fine.
Well, true, but depending upon, it's not a debugging level as like a Visual Studio.
Is it not? Okay, so because
no,
I don't.
It's.
I've like played with code a little bit, but I've never.
If you have it's
been years since I did Visual Studio.
If you have like a syntax checker or a pre-compiler that's set up and configured like with one of the extensions, then it does some pretty good. And while you're kind of working typing, it does some good debugging and kind of points out either syntax errors or just compile time errors that may happen. So doing some type checking, so it does have some good. But if I want to have start kind of doing like a stack trace, I wanted to do something like that, then I've never tried that in Visual Studio Code. I don't even know if you can. That's why, but I've done that a lot in Visual Studio back in the .NET days or Unity days, and
I know for
debugging there.
From a PHP standpoint, I think it supports Xdebug just fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can do the stack trace.
Yeah. So it supports a lot of a the third-party plugins or testing frameworks or debugging debugging applications. Yeah, they provide good integration with that. So I guess in a way it'll kind of be the same. But I wondered if JetBrains will bring in the debugging that they built into their full IDEs into this. That's what I'm kind of curious about.
It would be interesting to see if Fleet goes the direction of less of that lightweight idea and more of that universal idea. So where it's not kind of where you're talking about, like every IDE they have is the same. It's the same. It's an IntelliJ IDE, but it's kind of tuned for this language or this context, and maybe Fleet does not. I don't know. It's supposed to be lightweight. I'm not saying it's not a lightweight. I've not played with it, but I wonder if eventually that becomes less of the feature. The flagship feature is its lightweightness, and more of it's just like, it doesn't matter if you're jumping from language to language. It's the IDE that handles them all. Because honestly, that's
what I do like. Yeah, that's another feature about it, because I don't. But
honestly, that's IntelliJ. Because for most of I may be wrong, but I think for most of the PHP Storm, right, you can run IntelliJ and pull in what is effectively the PHP Storm plugins.
Yeah, that's been a while since I did that, because just doing the vanilla IntelliJ,
right?
Just have their plugins. I could basically configure that, and so you could load it in with 5 to 10 different plugins that basically recreate. But then it becomes one beast of an application, right?
Right, because WebStorm and PHP Storm are not that different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So, and you can basically have WebStorm functionality in PHP Storm. Yeah. Maybe you pull in a few extra plugins that you don't normally have in PHP Storm. But I think then too you can run basically PHP in IntelliJ if you put those plugins in. But then you also have the Java editor because you're in IntelliJ. Can you also run the .NET stuff? I don't know. I've never tried. So
Yeah. So it's something to keep a watch on. Like I said, since you are more serious JetBrains user than I am and more experienced with it, if you do get any invites, Tim, pass them along.
oh, okay. I will keep that in mind. I might need to ask for one, but I'll see what I can find out for you.
All right.
What's your topic for the day then, Mark?
All right. We want
We
me
need
to
a
go
jingle.
first.
We need like a jingle.
Yes. We need a little.
I'll work
little
up a
jingles.
jingle.
Oh, nice.
Like a dun 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 topic.
All right. So my topic this week, like I said, I'm still trying to get back in the flow of doing some real development. So I'm not coming with a developer topic per se, but in a mindset of thinking about the projects you're working on, monetizing them, and thinking about, if you are starting projects or maintaining product, and or just thinking about how to make money off of your development work, thinking about the freemium, free kind of model of the internet. Because one thing that I've been kind of realizing happened this week because of a couple projects that I'm starting to support now and want to talk about, where I'm kind of trying to find I'm paying a lot more, either subscriptions or just donations or whatever services for platforms and software that I didn't usually do. So I'm wondering, is the free model of the internet going to die? Like, are we going
That's
to
an open-ended
have
question.
Well,
What are
are you-
these?
Well, when I say the free model, I mean like the freemium style service-based websites. Mostly I'm thinking about just with like websites and web services where, since like let's say like the web 2 or even when the web started, the freemium model, between, with websites, be able to log on as long as you had your ISP, connecting you to websites, means all the websites for free, unless you were like selling a physical product of some sort. And then this free model turned into, like a freemium ad supported with like additional plans you could subscribe to have additional features, and then it would kind of evolve from there. But I'm seeing more and more where more companies, especially web service companies, are asking for money up front, or starting to be more upfront about, or maybe even lowering the bar, or that, let's say, still giving you a free version, but then making them very, very limited, in the sense where like you're going to want to upgrade to the $5, $10, whatever subscription plan that there is, to be able to really, really use the product. Because one thing that triggered this was there was a game project which I was taught to support, but really also I found interesting that I'm actually, the first time in my life, I'm paying for a web browser. Like, would you pay for a search engine or a web browser, Tim?
All right, then this is curious to me. You're saying you're paying for more stuff. Are you paying? You mean you're paying for? Is this Brave?
I'm paying for too much stuff. Yeah.
Right, right. Well, that's what you're.
No.
Yeah, you're saying that you're finding yourself more and more. You're paying for some things.
Okay.
So
yes.
so you're getting pushed, or you're feeling like you should. Either way, you are ending up paying more subscription style things, right?
And this, over the past year, we've had conversations about this where, like, the reason why I use the Brave browser, because I like the privacy nature of it.
Right, right.
I like that it does have a lot of features built into it to keep trackers down. So cookie trackers that are keeping watch over every website they're going to, and keep over every action, and then be able to serve, so other websites could serve you ads. And I stay pretty much off of all this. Like you said, I haven't touched Facebook in forever. I don't get on Instagram much anymore because the ad tracking and everything like that. And, I'm just use a little bit of Twitter and YouTube. That's pretty much the only two networks that I still use. But I like getting away from websites that are really highly super focused on this free advertising based model where you are basically the product, right? So they are collecting your information and then selling that information to businesses who can then market to you. So in a sense, you are the product that these websites are selling to other companies.
Right,
So
the play there is to get a big user base. You get a big user base, then you can monetize a user base.
So as I get older, I start to feel like, okay, I want to try to get away from that. And since once where, just kind of, it just doesn't feel right. In 10 years ago or 15 years ago, like I maybe didn't mind as much, but I find now, and as I'm getting older, I find that I'm paying for more kind of small payments here or there in order to get away from that style of service or business where, like, I am the product, the advertising based business. I want to kind of get away from that as much as possible. So like I said, I'm paying, this week I started to pay for my first search engine, which I never thought I would actually pay for.
What are you paying for?
Kagi, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Have you seen this? So
No, no.
KAGI.com.
KAGI.
.com.
Not a sponsor, by the way. Not a
No.
sponsor.
No, we don't have any sponsors yet because we don't market our listeners to him.
That's right.
That's not what we do.
No. One day we're just going to charge them to listen to this content because it is
Well-
so very riveting.
Well, that's part of this conversation too. Could lead into it, like how we've talked about how the podcasting model is evolving, and using
$10 a month.
So $10 a month, yes. And it was a little bit steep
Okay.
at first. Okay, so I've been hearing about the service for a while from some podcasts I've been listening to over the past year, and I've finally honestly, I was
Python
using
exceptions.
inside of my Brave browser, I have using DuckDuckGo. I've used DuckDuckGo for a long
Right.
time.
Didn't they
Love
just get in trouble?
DuckDuckGo. That's why I don't know. I kind of have been using the past couple months, but I was using it forever. But then I kind of felt like always the search results was kind of like so-so. I was kind of
Okay.
like, because DuckDuckGo has this cool feature where if you do like your Bang G or Bang Google, then you could basically do like a Google search. So what I
Right.
find was I was doing probably 50% of the time. If I didn't like the results, I was then doing another search, sending that back out to Google, and then that kind of defeats the purpose of me trying to get away from Google search.
Does a little bit, yeah.
So I found like the search results of DuckDuckGo was always kind of lacking. Then Brave came out with their own kind of their own kind of search service built into the box. But I think it's basically like a white box version of DuckDuckGo. I'm not 100% sure, but that's kind of what it looks like. So, but it was still kind of, the results were iffy. But I've been hearing about this Kagi, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it right, or Kagi, or I don't know. I'm not sure if it's how to pronounce it. It's a very strange name.
KGI, yeah.
Kagi.
I don't know. I can't even get to the search. I had to sign up first. And
Yes,
they're
yes.
asking me all these questions. You want the results in the left? You want the results in the
Yeah.
center? What
Oh, I didn't-
URLs do you want to show? All this kind of stuff.
Oh, I didn't know about that onboarding, because when I got into it, it was pretty much just email, sign up, boom, I was in. So I guess they changed like the onboarding process for new users. So
Yeah.
I was hearing about the search engine. It was been in a private beta, private alpha for a couple of years. I don't know how long it's been, but I've been hearing some people talk about how they've been using it. So I sent the request to get an account, and I applied to get an account to get into the private beta. So I was able to get into that, and I've been using it for the past 2 months, and it's been slowly getting made. It wasn't perfect, but I definitely think probably about 70-80% of the time, I wasn't feeling I had to go out to Google. I was liking the search results, especially
I'm liking their search results. I'm liking the search results
being
right now.
for being a developer too. They really are focused on giving good search results to developers.
Yeah.
Because that's something. So because I think the founders are former Google developers. So
I am thrilled with the search results.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying, because I put in my name and it's all me. It's all me. So I am the top hit. My Twitter account's the top hit, and then there's this Tim Lytle guy at Piedmont University. He's actually my uncle. So I guess we can have him in the search results, and then it's basically my LinkedIn profile. Then it's my uncle again, and then it's my Facebook. And I'm happy with this. It's pretty
Okay.
much me all the time. So
their thing was, they said like, okay, they're going to build a search engine that's not built on advertising at all. So they will never serve you ads. Also, from a tracking standpoint, they're not tracking your results. Now, you still do have to create an account, and I think, I'm curious, I guess they're always going to have you to have an account or have logged in, just be able to, because they want to keep the service still not a private service, but in a sense where you have to have a user account, either if it's a free user account now, which is they do have those now, or a paid user account. They still want you to have a user account, but they're not tying the exact search term, what you're searching for. They're probably still using the results. Probably still, I don't know, I'm assuming to improve the search engine, they're doing it some way, but they're not tying it back to yours. So they're not marking your search queries for, future purposes. So it's a very user-focused search engine. That, like I said, I think the results has gotten better. There's still here and there. It's not perfect. I know last week I was, everybody was on Twitter was talking about the Ricky Gervais comedy special that's on Netflix right now. So I was watching that, and then he was making some jokes about his age or something like that, about being old. I was just curious. Well, how old is Ricky?
How
Gervais?
old is he?
And then that's what's one of the things you search for, right? If you're curious about
you do.
somebody's
Yeah.
age, search for how old is Ricky Gervais, and it came up with 40 years old. I was like, there's no way this guy's 40 years old. This is kind of crazy. He's like, and I did a Google search to find out what the real age is, and it was 61. What the
Off by
search
21.
what the
Whatever.
search engine was doing was that at age 40, that's when he started the British version of The Office. So that was the first year when he was 40. That's when he first released the Office in the UK, that show. So there was just little, and I
So there's
tweeted
lots of articles that talk about Ricky Gervais being 40, and I guess that
or
influenced
when
it
he
or
yes,
something like that.
I guess like when he was 40, that was when he started
Yeah.
The Office because that's when he became known. So it's not perfect. There's going to be things like that. And I did tweet Kagi. I was like, I love you, Kagi, but this is really, really off. And you got to look at your bio algorithm to see what you're doing. So they've been giving out email announcements to the private beta members saying, okay, they're going to be charging eventually. That's coming soon. It's
Okay.
going to be $10 a month.
$10 a month.
And when I saw the $10 a month, I was like, whoa, that's kind of pricey. I was like, that's I don't know. That's if it was $5. $5 would be kind of maybe that would be an easy sell for me. I think, yeah, whatever. $5 doesn't make a difference. So $10 a month, like really for a search engine. And so I was like, okay, I was debating this week and what they were doing when they went out.
Well, what else is $10 a month? I mean, to me, that price point is kind of in line with most of your streaming services.
No, it is. But like I said, if I was going to, I used to have a OneNote account, or I'm sorry, an Evernote account.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
even if I do like Google, there's like a Google one for I store all my photos on. I pay like $10
Mm-hmm.
for them to store all my 2 terabytes of photos. So I do pay. Yeah, and there are services like that I pay. Then $10 is probably an even number. It's just for a search engine. That's what I'm saying.
That's what's interesting. Like,
it's a new paradigm of paying $10 for a search engine. Like,
yeah, because I think the $10 a month is right around the streaming services. It may not be the premium streaming services. You're probably I think anymore Netflix is more than that. Amazon Prime is hard to put a dollar amount on, right? Because it's so many things. But if you're probably, if you want to think of how you slice up your Amazon Prime membership, $10 of it might be the streaming. I don't know. But I think as we have more and more of these little ones like Peacock coming along and whatever Paramount, what is it, Paramount Plus, the CBS, all these ones that they're all
it's
they're
a
all looking
part-time
at it.
job just managing, especially if you're one that cut the cable and don't have it, but you're just relying on these online services.
Yeah.
But one thing I do each month, I'm keeping track of, are we actually watching the shows? Do we watch all the shows we need to watch? I'm immediately canceling it, which I do like that flexibility.
There you go.
But it feels like, it's a lot of work.
But that's but that's what I'm saying. That's around $10 a month, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Search engine though. I mean, it's weird because we'll look at the content we consume from an entertainment standpoint and be like, oh yeah, it's worth $10 a month to be able to sit down, a couple nights a month or a couple nights a week or however, or for 3 hours every day, whatever you're doing, right? To sit down and watch a couple things. Yeah, that's worth $10 a month. But when you think about your search engine, it's not the same. It doesn't feel the same, right? You're not purchasing entertainment, so you don't have that. Well, I don't know how to quantify this value, but let me tell you, you're using it all the time. You're using it. You're using a search engine to do far more things that are valuable to you than watching whatever show is on whatever streaming service that you're just like, okay, I guess it's $10 a month to get access to that. That's fine.
And then I wonder if people, because that was something I was when I first saw the $10, I was like, okay, really, that just feels expensive or pricey. But then once you really think about it, you really just acknowledge how much you search during the day, or maybe it's a developer problem. We're constantly looking things up.
Well, there is that, yeah.
Because I'm not sure if, my wife, when she's, I don't know, because I haven't talked to her about this. I know when she's during the school year, she'd be constantly using search engine, to looking up, things here and there. I'm not sure now that say the summertime when she's not teaching, if would be using like Google or doing searching as much. But I mean through the phone, because now, searching through your phone is kind of so built into the device and built into, either using Google or using, I don't know, any of the search. I guess they all kind of default back to Google if you're using iOS or Android. But then it's kind of built into.
What about all those people with the Microsoft phones? They're using Cortana all the time.
I shut down that Cortana. I got to keep that. You got to keep that thing off, man. That thing's evil.
So I'm like, hi, just talk to me. I'm like, no, please go away. I have a start button, and that's what I like to use.
But then I realized, thinking about this week, because they finally flipped the switch at the beginning of the week.
Oh, they did?
Okay. Yep.
All right.
So we're so they said, okay, for free users, you have like 50 searches a month. So that's the free plan.
Whoa, that is very small.
I know.
That is really small.
From, let's say, thinking about it from a drug dealer perspective, could
Thinking of
like
it from a drug dealer perspective.
like give it like a little bit of taste and makes you want to come back for more. I think 50 searches, if they're good searches or percentage of, they're not just searching for stupid, they're not just searching for Tim over and over again.
I wasted so many of my searches just looking at my name. You should have told me this up front, man.
Where like it gives you a good idea of the results, especially if it's a good variety of searches, to whether if it's something that, because I do find it's interesting, because if you search for 50, like spend a couple days, because you will go through those 50 searches pretty fast, and then if you go back to your normal web browser and doing searching, like will you go back or will you miss it and want to go back and then reconsider paying that $10? So I think it's kind of interesting. I know you're also looking at their how they're coming up to $10, which they do disclose. I like their FAQ page, which I would definitely go to and take a look, because they're pretty open about everything that they're doing, what they're doing, especially even for the pricing model. They say that the reason why they're charging $10 is because what was it, 80? Let's see, which were searches for? It was I'm looking now. I think it was the search results. $10. Yeah, 80 searches. Their cost for doing 80 searches is $1. So from a business cost, I know that there's things built into it, and I was wondering, that even felt high to me too, because actually I was reading this on Hacker News, because once this news broke, where they
I want to know just how did they come up with? I guess I could read that article to figure out
Well,
how
yeah.
to come up with that number.
It's not too much. Well, they don't release they don't do a good breakdown of what that $1 is based off of. What they say is, okay, it takes us $1 to process 80 searches. And then so if a user searches 8 times a day, performs about 240 searches a month, it's costing us $3 and like $3 search cost. So they break it down a little bit, and they go to say, okay, that's also built into so all of our paid users are paying $10 a month. That cost that they're paying is also built into keeping that cost low for the free user. So offering 50 searches per month, that's basically what less than, for Tim, that's like less than $1.75. So part of our $10 is paying for other users to use it for free and try out the service. So what people are, I'm not sure, wasn't verified this or not, they don't disclose this on the website here, but on Hacker News, people are talking about this, that the service is built around a lot of API usage. So where they are, to get their data, they're not just querying.
They're not crawling as much.
Doing the raw. They still may be
Right.
doing the raw crawling, but really what they're doing, and reason probably why the cost is high, is because they're maybe paying licensing fees or costs for using APIs to get a lot of the data that they're using for their search engine, which I also find is kind of an interesting model to use. Or basically, get a lot of the data that other places have collected. It may be a little bit of cost involved with that, and then you're gonna have to pass that cost off to the end user to help support. So I don't know. I find it's an interesting model. Also, I find thinking about, is like the freemium model dead or going to be dead in the future, and will the internet slowly be moving to more paid plans? Which honestly, now I'm thinking about it, if it's long as it's manageable and it's not too crazy, I'm actually more supportive, especially if that means that there's going to be less advertising based either sources of revenue or businesses that have to rely solely on that. It also came up with Twitter, right? With Twitter, with Elon, that's one of the big things he's saying he'll do once he's able to get in there full on and to be able to rework Twitter. He wants to, I guess Twitter's like a 70-80% ad-based business now. He wants to take that down to like 10 or 20%, and the rest of it's going to be sourced by the user. So is there going to be a $10 Twitter plan? I know they have Twitter Blue right now, but like with a very limited feature set. But
I don't even remember what was in Twitter Blue.
Elon may do the exact same thing that Kagey's doing and be like, okay, you get, I don't know, you get a very minimal set of people to follow or whatever you're,
15 tweets a month.
Very limited on your tweets and the people
you want to edit that tweet? Editing is $100 a pop.
That's a great business model. But I could totally see, charge $10 and then have unlimited Twitter, and that's probably going to be a thing. So
there was a thing though. There was a app. I forget what it was because I paid for it when it came out. It was I think it was app.net if I'm not mistaken, and it was a social network that you paid.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember that too.
To be part of.
I was on that for a very brief time once realizing there's not many other people on this.
No, not gonna hit critical mass there. So on that side of things, on like the social network side of things, I think that is the issue, hitting critical mass. And if you're going to do that completely from a everybody's paying to be part of this, you're never going to do it. Now I know some of the ideas that are being tossed around is if you're a corporation, if you have a PR, department, you're going to pay us. If you're going to, like in the context of Twitter, is maybe for these company accounts, you'll have to pay. But now from a service standpoint, like a search engine, that's a service. You don't need to have a lot of users on this for it to be useful. It's really interesting. And I'm curious because the second search that I did was say PHP 8 features, and they do a good job. What looks to be some good results, which I happen to know is kind of in line with what Google would give me back. And, the sites that it pops up are familiar enough to me. I'm like, yep, they would show me that. They're doing. I should just do one side by side and see Google. I like how some of the multi-page results are being displayed. Meaning, here's the PHP 8 release on PHP.net, but then they also have like a manual link that's on PHP.net, and I don't know why GoTo they have there. I don't know why GoTo has special treatment for PHP 8. It exists in there, but I don't know why they're referencing that. That's a little odd to me. But there's also like a podcast where they have a bunch of the different shows, or it's not a podcast, it's a blog, have a bunch of different articles that are specific to this in PHP 8, this in PHP 8. And on the side, they've loaded what is probably the top result in Stack Overflow. It's just on the sidebar. So I'm actually curious. I don't have an error message that I really need to know about right now, but seeing what that looks like side by side, because as a developer, you run into some strange area, like I don't even know what is causing this. I need some help with this. So you throw it into Google and see what people have said about such error. It'll be interesting to see what
they do have
data
two.
bubbles up here.
There is a if you look, there's a switch from going from web to discussions. So if you switch it to discussions, then they go to like Reddit, they go to GitHub. It kind of pulls out the discussions from the actual results, which that's something I do really like too, because with Google, when I was trying to solve a lot of programming problems, it would basically default to Stack Overflow articles or a lot of discussions. And I would kind of have to hunt and peck, even though I could kind of see the sense of that, where it would give me probably close to the solution I was looking for, but it still would take a lot of work. So what they're defaulting to is trying to have more, not declarative, but more official sources of information. They defer to that first, and then you have the option of switching to discussions, and then you can see what people are discussing about that topic that you're querying about. Yeah,
there's like discussions, there's EDU, there's news, PDF for some reason, and programming. I don't know what PDF is, other than your. I mean, I guess it's. I should just say that seems like an odd thing to have in those options, but there's total times that I've been looking for the PDF for that manual.
Yeah.
And
one thing also I found that was realizing I was not doing as much with the search engine. I wasn't have to go to multiple pages. So when I was going to Google, I would use
top results.
I would usually, and if you just search like I did, you search for PHP, I search for JavaScript.
Right.
If you scroll down the bottom of a page, what does it give you? It gives you like some list of some other searches you could do, but it doesn't give you multiple pages you could go through. Which I was finding subconscious what I was doing.
What in the world?
What?
You can't go to second pages. No, you're right. This is puzzling me.
So when I was so used to going on Google, not liking the first page results and having to basically go through at least 3 pages
to find the one article that's not just getting pushed to the front because of SEO or whatever.
So number one, I don't have the option to do that, but at the same time, I don't miss that either. Actually, I appreciate that. It saves me time because I feel like I've been mostly getting a result that I can be somewhat happy with, or at least to trigger another search, or to kind of narrow down my query a little bit more from, let's say, that top half of the page results. That's usually been good enough.
Well, this is interesting. I will have to take a look at this now.
So I don't know. It's been kind of. I thought that it's evolved, and I think they actually picked a good time, because I think it's actually gotten to a pretty good place where I think now once people try it out, I think that'll like. I still think the price, once people have to get used to a little bit, like $10 for a search engine, I think is a new model. But I think I wonder if, like I said, if people are going to get used to this idea.
It's not. It's not a new model though. Let's just take a step back there.
Well, it's a new model for search engines.
No, not really. Like if
What?
you
Has there been another paid search engine that does like a non-advertising based?
for general search, like our perspective of search engines online, Yahoo, Google, Ask Jeeves. What was the first Alta Vista? Trying to remember
Yeah.
what other ones. Search engines that were released in the year I was born, things like that.
I was in college or something like that.
But anyway,
Year you were bored.
but no, there's always been there's paid, like from a legal standpoint or from a professional standpoint. If you want to search medical journals, right? You're paying for a subscription
True.
to do that.
That's true.
If you
Yeah,
want
that's true.
if you want to do, like, what is it, LexisNexis,
That's true.
to do lookup on known information to people, if you're a journalist doing research, things like that, you pay for access to those things.
Well, usually
So-
the company pays for it. You don't usually pay for it because, like,
right, but there's access that you need.
Yeah, because that's something like being in academia. There's a ton of academic
right.
search engines. I don't have to pay for them because my school has.
But your school
subscription
pays for
that.
it. And the
But yeah,
idea
it's
of somebody's funding the search engine, it's not ad driven. It's funded
Yeah.
because, well, and the relationship then becomes much more interesting between the consumer, right? I mean, it's exactly why there's concern around ad driven search engines, is because now the relationship with the consumer is, well, you're paying for these results. They better be good. They better be actually what you want, not what I want you to see, or not what would benefit me and my advertisers, which is always the concern. Even though Google says that, this side of the page is algorithm driven, this side is ad driven, right? We're going to be very clear, here's all your ads. And the way they mark the page, they do make them obvious, right? And, there's other search engines that have not nearly been that open about how the results are being manipulated. But, they're making money because you're searching. They're not making money because the results, it's indirect. You're using it because the results are good. People are paying them for ads because the results. So it's indirect, but it's still not the same thing as saying, well, come on, Keggy, I'm paying you $10 a month. I expect the first page to have exactly what I need. So, and I think that's, to me, it seems like where it's going to play well is people like us, who, for us, searching is a part of our everyday work life.
Yeah.
Not just let me Google this when I get home because I'm curious about how old the comedian is, although that's, a valid use case too. But for us, searching for things, finding data online is key to what we do every day. So $10 for that? Yeah. I mean, that's the same thing that I've come, as we change in our professional development life as a developer, tools they seem a lot less expensive.
True. Yeah.
Some tools. I'll tell you, some other tools you're like, I don't even understand the licensing fee of that thing.
Well, no, but you're right. But just because now the online subscription model has become a standard now, back when I was starting, software licensing was so expensive. Like getting started as a developer or as a graphic designer or as a 3D artist, paying for these applications was so expensive. It was a huge barrier unless you were a student in academia. But even so, as a student, there still was some expensive student licensing fees too. So now that the monthly subscription model has become a standard now, and you could pay Adobe, even though that $20 to $50 a month, that is still kind of pricey. Same thing with Autodesk. You could pay a subscription plan for them. JetBrains, we talked about them. You could basically pay $50 a month. You could have their whole library of software. And if you utilize that software, if you use all those applications, if you get value out of that, then actually, even though that can still add out over that year, that $20 a month to $50 a month adds up over 12 months to being around $500. So it's still going to be a pricey number to pay for, but it does make it much more manageable for people to get into using those products.
Especially when you're looking at this is what I make doing this work.
Yeah,
right?
if that is your business.
And this makes me more efficient at it. This makes it easier for me to produce. If it's easier for me to produce, I'm probably going to be able to make more. Or I'm going to be more efficient. If I'm more efficient, then that comes into my compensation. So there's a lot of different things that then it becomes, okay, this is just a cost, and it's not that much compared to the value it gives me. So and I will say again, we talked about JetBrains before, right? Mm-hmm. their whole pack for me, just because I paid it for a couple of years and you get that discount for being
Oh,
a
you got the
customer.
sweet discount.
Yeah,
You're
but
like
still, it's not that much more. I
you're
mean, I'm
like
talking,
into like the $20 a month or something like.
well, I
some
pay per
sweet
year,
level
but it's
there.
like
Yeah.
$150 a year for all the
Oh my
products.
gosh, it's even less than $20. You're like
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
at
yeah.
like $12 a month.
But I think if you're not, if I should just go in and without without it me being logged in, look at what it is. I think it's only like 250 or something a year, right?
I think it was closer
for
to
the
50.
entire thing.
It was maybe it was like I think it was close to 200-300 or something. I don't know. If you're just starting off.
I thought if I for individual, and that's the thing, for individual use. Now it gets more expensive when it's teams and organizations, but for like individual use, I thought if I go for the entire ultimate yearly billing, first year 149.
Oh, but then doesn't it go up from there?
No, sorry, that's IntelliJ. It's the first year.
Yeah.
First year for all products pack, which that's what I get, is 249, and then by the time you're in your third year, like I am, it's down to like
Yeah,
149.
but still, I guess that's not too bad. Yeah,
No,
factored over
no,
here.
you think okay, it's less than $300 for the tool that I write code with all the time. Sure. Now, there's other things that you're like, I don't know. Is it worth? Like we can look at other things, and even in JetBrains land, if you looked at, well, what does it cost to run like Code City, which is their whole continuous integration, code management platform? That's per user, and then you got to ask yourself from a company standpoint, is that actually, is that worth it for our company? What is it called? Team City, is that what it is? Yeah, Build Agent. Yeah, that's not actually bad either.
So getting back to my
Yeah.
general question, I know, and I've
your
taken
general question.
and I've
Wow.
taken way
Way
too
more than
long
half.
with
Way
my
more than half.
topic, but I know we're breaking our model that we just started.
Yep.
But getting back to my general question, which is kind of led to going through this week and kind of thinking about this, is like, do you think that this is something that's going to happen more in the future? We're going to see more and more services and people getting used to paying, because like I said, they're used to paying these $5, $10 per month, like you talked about, for all of your TV services and all these small things. And then will we get away from an advertising focused industry, in a sense, from a tech industry, to a more kind of subscriber service based, or subscription based, or even just some type of credit based system where, we can kind of not have to rely on the advertising? I feel like the advertising model in the tech industry has basically just destroyed it. Right. I think there's so many wrong things that goes, even though it's not just destroyed, it's made Google and Facebook the most powerful companies in the world. But then what that's based off of, there's a lot of downsides to that. And it's thinking about a future where, where the privacy is more of a focused, where you have to pay for that privacy. And I totally, I think that's a totally viable thing to pay for, because if you do want to keep your information secure to some level and private and your activity, and if you're willing to pay for that, I think you should have that ability to. I think there probably will be people that don't really care at some point. They were like, yes, I just want to use a free product and don't really throw privacy out the window. Maybe it's also a generational thing. My kids growing up on TikTok and and Instagram and just using stuff all for free, even though and it's stuff like,
doesn't matter how much their dad yelling, "You're the product, don't you see?"
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is an old guy thing. Going back to age, maybe since I'm getting into my 50s now, I'm thinking, this
You're
is just
getting
a
into your
generational.
You're not even
Yeah.
45, and you're saying I'm getting into my 50s. What in the world, man? What in the world? So
Quick summary. Where do you think it's
answer,
going?
I think the answer is yes and no, right? Because I think you nail it in the head. Like when the first streaming platforms came out, I'm thinking way back, like about 15 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Somewhere in that ballpark, 12, 15 years ago. You had things like MLB.TV, the first, which I think was one of the first streaming networks, was Major League Baseball, where they're like, hey, all the games. You don't have to fight with, does my cable, am I paying for the whatever package that gives me access to all the local channels everywhere they're actually showing the game? Nope, MLB. It's our broadcast. You can watch them all. But I guess maybe depending on who your cable service provider is, we wouldn't let you watch some of them. I forget how that all worked, but I remember there being fights around that, and that IP. You had this start of, hey, they're streaming, and now you have, it was odd. People are like, what, I'm going to pay for just one channel? And now it makes a whole, because
that's true.
The model of the industry when it came to TV wasn't used to that, because you never really paid for one channel. A la carte never made sense, because it was always, if you're going to buy this and this channel, I never did it, so I'm not even like I rarely had cable TV until we had some like.
Yeah, the only
grandparents
time I
with
remember
us.
doing was like for like events, like you're watching like WWE and getting like the
Oh, you do a
WrestleMania,
pay you did yeah yeah
like a
you
pay-per-view or something like that.
yeah, pay for the event. But it's like if you were gonna say I want this channel and this channel, what do they cost? It'd be like, well, they cost more to buy them than it does to get the super package that has them.
Well, and then
So
once people realize that's basically a scam,
right.
and that's why
Right.
people were cutting the cord. We're like, wow, I'm paying for all
I'm
these
paying
channels that
for
I
all
watch.
I only want to watch this one, and now I can buy that directly for $10.
Yeah, and
sure,
then if you look at the
sure, I'll do
licensing
that.
fee of how those subscription models are based off of too, like how much ESPN charges cable companies to be included, and then they also ESPN will, or I guess it's Disney now, will require all these other channels like Discovery or National Geographic or
Right.
whatever, all these other channels to be included part of the package. That increases your cable package. It's just madness.
Yep. So
So-
people, first we had streaming services. Everybody's like, are people really going to pay for just one channel? Apparently they are, and not one channel, but apparently they're going to pay for content to be created.
Yeah.
Directly. They want that, and now we have this. Wait, everybody's Netflix starts making their own stuff. That kind of swirls in there, right? And then wait, we don't have to go through studios anymore. So this whole you're closer to the creator in terms of content has kind of happened in the tech world. We're more used to it. So yes, I think that we're going to see more services that pop up that don't even need that freemium model? It's like either it's no, there's not a free. There's like a low tier. There's obviously a free trial or something like that, so you can see how it works.
So freemium
then-
will always be there at some level.
I think so, but I think we're going to get more and more used to what you're saying. Are we going to get more and more used to there being services out there that say, no, there's not a free tier. This is a worthwhile thing if you want to pay for it, because the truth is for a lot of SaaS products, your free users are your most expensive in that they're complaining more maybe. They want more things. It's like, but the people who are really paying to use your product are using it in like if they're paying for it, they're probably much closer to your target customer anyway. They're the people that you want to be tuning your service for. So why not just get rid of the free ones if it's that type of thing, right? If it's a product that doesn't require a lot of users to even be using it for it to be useful, such as that. So that this fits well into that concept. But yeah, I think we'll find that there's more and more SaaS style offerings that are unafraid to say everything costs. There is not free. We'll let you see how it works, but no, if you want to use this, it's going to cost money. But will that move away from the ad-driven internet that we're used to? No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
That'll
probably
always
not.
exist too.
I know this is just wishful thinking, but
Yeah.
And one last question I want to ask you, Tim.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what was my topic? That was what you're going to... No, is that not what you're going to ask me? Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you ever pay for WinZip?
Did I ever pay for WinZip? Were we supposed to? Were we supposed to pay for WinZip?
Do you remember that?
I don't even remember
I think that might have been the first shareware application, one of the big ones. That was probably the biggest shareware application.
Did it disable after a while or something? I'm trying to
No,
remember.
it never did.
But it
never
said it
did.
should, or did it try to guilt you?
I don't
paying
know.
for it?
I stopped using it, but like I remember it came out when I was in high school, I believe. So like the 95, 96,
So I
I
was
don't
in
know, around there.
diapers. That's where I was in diapers at that point. So.
I love how I keep aging myself and you keep making yourself younger.
Yeah, I
like
know. I'm feeling it today. Apparently, I need to.
But I just
make
remember
myself
that
feel
that was an application where like every time you open it up, it asks you to pay for it. Like
I kind of remember.
Either was a little,
remember that.
It was a little
yeah.
like a splash window or like a little pop-up window or a little banner message, but then you would constantly have this, and then people just got so used to just clicking through pop-up or just ignoring it.
Yes, go away.
And also, once they built the integration into the Explorer, where you could right-click on something and then zip it, you could kind of avoid that.
I didn't even need to care about it. Yeah,
you need it as much anymore.
And then
But it was
eventually,
kinda-
Windows just supported zip by default.
Yeah, and then but interesting thing about that is a product where I did a search on Kegi, like we're talking about here. Why would you pay for, or no, who did anybody ever pay for WinZip? And what the first result is Ars Technica Arta, which actually gives me some really good information. It says that WinZip has had over 140 million downloads and 500,000 free downloads each week.
Each week.
So
it's still like 140 million downloads and 5 paying users.
Yeah, but it doesn't disclose like how many people are actually paying for it. So, but yeah, no, It's kind of a interesting thought. But like I said, I think the paid search engine is a very kind of interesting thing. It was a kind of revelation for me this week, and I think I was probably I think one of the things they asked you this questionnaire when you signed up for Kegi for the private beta, like why would you want to use it? Why do you think you want to, or what would you like out of a search engine? And one of the questions I asked, I want to be able to be happy to pay for a search engine. Because I knew that was their model where they were going. I knew that eventually I'd have to pay for it. And over the 2 months of using it, I was kind of hit or miss here and there. But I did see over that 2 months, it got better. And now this week, I have a resolution. Yeah, I can't go back to Google. I can't go back to Brave or DuckDuckGo or whatever the search engine I was using. I even tried it for a couple of days this week, and I was like, it felt icky. And so I was like, yeah.
Felt icky going back to Google, huh?
Or DuckDuckGo. Yeah, because
Okay.
like I said, Brave uses I think it's a white box version of DuckDuckGo. Now, I'm not 100% sure about that, but I went back to that, tried that for a day, and it was like the result just wasn't as good.
That's what it does seem like. It's definitely trying to give you not the top results, but the results that you need.
Yeah, more meaningful results to the questions you're looking for.
Yeah. I don't know. There is a way to say all results. Can I see all results? All results. No, that's. I have all results checked, and they're all there.
So that's one thing I find that even though I'm probably doing the same amount of searches, but I'm spending less time on the search engine.
Okay.
Which that's something also I appreciate. Where like I want to get to this website where I can get the information from. I don't want to just also what I would find with using Google too. Using that multi-page search results and going through 3 pages. I would usually I would read those 3-page results and try to gain the information out of summaries and just basically. And I think that's what Google kind of intends because they want you to stay on their search engine as much as possible so you can keep looking at their ads.
Is that what their goal is?
So I don't know. I kind of felt like just looking back at how I use Google, I'd probably spend more time on the search results screens and then maybe we're bouncing back and forth between the website or back to the results screen. But then just reading the results and reading the summary of the results, I think they spend a lot of time working on the summaries to kind of keep you on Google's page because then you're looking at ads.
I have sad news. I have so sad news. I'm sorry for everybody. I forgot to hit record.
So
like the best episode.
Well, we still
best episode.
You could still pull it from the.
I can pull it from that, but it's not going to be great.
It'll be fine. You actually sound pretty good today. You sound pretty good.
I sound pretty good today.
Yeah,
okay.
you do.
This is my birthday. This is my birthday episode. And I've ruined the whole thing
because you got distracted about it being your birthday in the beginning.
I got distracted, and now we're out of time, and then we're not going to have good sounding bumper. I am so sorry.
But this is our
30th episode, and it's not going to sound great. I apologize, but the 31st will be great. I'm sure it will. Because that'll be next week. But
hey, just be positive. We didn't get to your topic, so now you have a topic for next week.
I have a topic for next week because
and we'll start off with you. So
okay. The one thought that came to mind, and I actually didn't have a topic. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody.
Serious.
I don't think that's a surprise to anybody.
That's why I said okay. So Mark, what's your topic? What do you want to talk about this week?
Did not have a topic. But the one thing that did come to, well, 2 things actually. One is it would be interesting to talk about shareware that you paid for.
Mm-hmm.
Like what shareware did you pay for? Because I was a paying user to some shareware-y stuff. And the other thing is, and you know what, I should just there. We're gonna record this. This is gonna be the last. No one's gonna care, but it's recording. So. Google now supports the rich communication services. Yeah, something like that.
What?
RCS. Yeah, it's the it's
no,
like
I don't know about that.
It's like the Apple thing, like where when you're messaging with someone on iOS, they can hit the little thumbs up and it tells you that.
Okay.
So now Google has RCS, which is a rich communication service where you can see can you see if someone saw a message, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And they do it. They do it over. I think it's over SMS. I don't know exactly, honestly, where it comes to play, but it's in the Android Messenger. I should know because I work in the telco world. I don't know off the top of my head. But that the other day brought up something interesting with my wife because I was texting somebody and it didn't send because they weren't online. I'm like, I don't care. Go back to SMS. Just send the thing. I want to know that it's sent because I'm concerned that it's not going to be sent. If you're saying you're waiting for them to come online, I don't like that. I just want it to be sent. And then there's people like, well, you're not on Facebook anymore, right? But you use Messenger. right? But then
No,
some
I don't.
people, oh, you don't
I
use
don't touch
Messenger.
that. I don't
You
touch that. Messenger.
Don't touch Messenger.
That's
And you
even
got some
worse than
friends-
Facebook, Tim.
You got some friends on Messenger. You got some friends that respond to text messages. You got some like, we remember the day when there were like 3 or 4 instant message clients, and you'd have people.
Do you
on
have
different
do you
instant
have
mess-
Facebook Messenger installed on your phone?
I do.
Man, that's watching it. Every
Everything
single
I
thing
do.
that you do on your
Every
phone. It's
single thing
listening
I
all the
do,
time.
it is- that
It's
is
probably
why I
you
get
could
ads.
probably figure out a way to grab the audio for this podcast from Google
From my
Messenger
phone.
because
From
it's
my
been
phone,
all,
yeah.
it's been recording
The entire
you
time.
the whole time.
The issue though isn't the audio on my phone. The issue is the audio and that's with a good speaker over here, or not speaker, the good mic. But like, do you have that problem where you got different friends on different channels, and how do you actually? You can't. There's no group messenger because you can't message everybody because they're all on different platforms.
Yeah, we could talk about that in the future. Where like I'm on Android, and the rest of my family is on iOS.
Yeah. The great divide.